he wants to believe in his guys, and he will give them the rope to do that. And does that sometimes hinder the ability to put wins in the column? Yes, but this is also a league about second chances.
He gets one high in the air. Left field. This one's got a chance. And let's go on a cowhide. Joyride. Sound the horn. The RailCats clear the yard.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to the RailCast Talk podcast. He's Chuck Polarek. I'm Kyle Svetich, and it's cold.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's a wee bit chilly out there.
It'll
In
get
that nice,
colder.
it's gonna get colder on Tuesday. Probably when this comes out, it's gonna be really cold outside. So yeah, and but it's nice and warm in Atlanta, where maybe it's a little bit colder there as well. But that's the Ohio State Notre Dame game, which I'm nervous for on that front. But anyways, Chuck, how was your week the last time since we talked?
Well, my week is much like Groundhog Day. It just is the same thing over and over again, which just to mention, Groundhog Day is my favorite holiday. So, that being said, we've been trying to make plans for spring break, and there is a pretty good chance that we will find our way to Hawaii.
Oh, ooh, look at that.
So I have enough frequent flyer miles to be able to fly to Hawaii for four of us, and so that might be the trip that we take uh, at spring break time.
Well, there you go. I've never been there, so
Neither
that's
have I.
my
It was
cousin
either
was stationed out there.
Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was the other one that AJ threw out there, and um, flights are too expensive. So
Mm, that's fair. Well, unlike Groundhog's Day, this week we actually have news to talk about, and it's just not the repetitive.
I'm
I don't
ready
know what
for
we're
the
going to
news.
talk about this week, and what promotions can we talk about?
I just want to ask you a question. Is it true? There's rumors out there. Is it true that the Chinese tried to disrupt your big news this week and that's why TikTok got shut down?
I guess I didn't even talk about that because I put it out there on
Right.
the interwebs.
That's the
Um,
I
Then
thought
so
that
the big I
that's
guess
what I heard.
the big news other than TikTok being shut down for 24 hours and
Because of
roughing
your news. That's what I heard.
uh,
It's because of your news.
so yes, we are expecting another Railcat to join the ranks towards the end of the season in August as my wife is pregnant with our first child. It's still a bit of a journey. This was a little bit unexpected. 2 years of trying, going through fertility treatments, and one last hurrah, and well, next thing you know, we got a baby. So
Oh,
yeah. So with that being said, things are gonna get really interesting at the Svetich household. As you can see, this lovely setup that I have worked on for 2 years to get the perfect right amount. I gotta tear it all down
wow.
because the downside to a starter home and you have a two-bedroom house is you need a place for the baby. And well, my wife's definitely not going to tear down the bedroom to make that the baby room. That would be this room. So yeah, it's gonna be a little interesting. Still trying to find out the logistics behind that one.
How does Ryan feel about this? He's going to lose his dog cage situation?
Well, see, with Ryan, he'll lose the dog cage situation in the closet,
Right,
where it's temperature controlled a little
right.
bit. He's gonna be now put in the garage where
Ooh,
it can be temperature controlled.
well,
Um, but it's not severely temperature controlled. Like it's just we got one vent out there that we have closed up, but other than that, like at least it's closed in and you're away from all the elements,
right,
sorta.
right.
Um, so yeah, that's the exciting news on my front of things. But
Congratulations.
I know we're not here to listen if my wife is pregnant or not. We're here to talk about some Railcats baseball.
Well, we are, but congratulations. That's big news. If you go back probably 6 podcasts, I've made a hint to just about every single one of them, where even the last one, I started to say something and totally threw it off track, and you were like, oh, and
Okay.
I told you. So now I don't get to do that anymore,
No.
which is kind of sad. Uh, so what Railcats news do we have to talk about?
Well, so we have a signing, a player that got signed by the White Sox that we signed that would be the second player that we signed, or well, one of the first people that we signed on Halloween uh to a White Sox contract. So he didn't play a single inning or didn't even touch the steel yard and when it's already being promoted. So kind of sucks to miss on that one. I mean, obviously for him, it's really good for him, but just being able to see what he could have done at the steel yard would have been fun. And then we have Andrew Mild has picked his intern for the 2025 season for broadcasting with him at the Steelyard. So we have three things to talk about. So
Do you think
Chuck,
that list was long for him to pick from? Do you think that it was a long waiting line and
I
he
I I honestly think it is
yeah.
because the thing is being in that realm a little bit when I first I mean obviously we're still kind of in it but like when I was actively in it there are a lot of opportunities but not a lot of like these opportunities. And you got to think about it. You got IU. This is the second year that someone's coming from IU. But Andrew Mild went to Butler. You have a lot of different avenues that you could work with. I went to Illinois Media School, and that's where the Chicago Dogs broadcaster started his career at. Was it with Illinois Media School, and then he interned with the Chicago Dogs, and that's how he got his role. So there's a lot of these jobs, a lot of people may think that independent baseball and this stuff isn't worthy of people's times to a certain extent. No, there's people that are salivating over this kind of stuff
Oh
because
yeah.
this is an opportunity for them to get their voice heard. This gives them practice. I mean, even Andrew Miles started with the Lake County, the Corn Dogs. Like those opportunities are so far in between that you do have people that have a lot of talent lined up for those kinds of things. So he probably had a laundry list of things to work with, and he probably got the recommendation from Graham Nash, who was down at IU. So between those three things, Chuck, which one do you want to tackle first?
Well, I think that we already started. So
All right,
let's
so Charlie, I'm not, hold on, I think I have it pulled up again. Hold on, I'm gonna Hurias. There we go. Charlie Hurias. There. See, I had to go through how to pronounce because I'm terrible with names. Uh, so Charlie Hurias. It looks like he graduates from IU next year, in 2026. He's going to the IU Sports Media. He's been on the Big Ten Plus network for women's basketball for IU. He also did some past experience with the Northwest Indiana Oilmen up there in Whiting, also Kokomo baseball. So he's familiar with at least the summer leagues kind of style. Not a lot of that. Like I haven't gone up a lot on his kind of stuff, but there is going through his Twitter and stuff like that. They do a lot of like pre-game, post-game stuffs over Indiana IU basketball on that front of it. But he retweeted it, posted it, and he's just thrilled to start the new position with the RailCats. So I'm excited. You know me. I'm the person that goes to the ballpark, puts the headphones in, and also listens to the radio broadcast because
right.
I'm that person and I enjoy doing it.
Yep. Yep.
Chuck,
Well,
on the other hand, you're probably gonna have to, you
welcome to
know.
the team, Charlie. Welcome to the team.
So I'm excited. I love that the Railcats are able to do this because I know there are some places that don't do it. I know Cleburne is huge in there. They have like a whole full rotation of interns that Brad Allred runs through. on that front of it. And then towards the end of the year, he kind of lets them kind of take the reins a little bit. So this is just I love this opportunity for them to get this experience and to watch Andrew kind of take a player, or not take a player, take a person that may not be familiar with the sport, like a Graham Nash wasn't familiar with baseball a whole lot, but he was able to kind of mold him into a better broadcaster and something that will boost him in his career, because baseball is one of the hardest ones to announce because of the amount of time in between pitches. Now with the pitch clock, it's a little bit different, but even this year, how many blowout games there were. Like,
Right.
it's just one of those that you have to be able to come up with something that it's not like a football or a hockey or any other sport like that where there's constant action kind of going back and forth. You may have a time where it's really slow and really hard, so you really have to dig in that bag of tricks to come out with something. So yeah, I'm excited for him. I have to listen to more on his stuff, but I'm excited to listen to a new voice as well.
I just sit there and think that, Andrew Mild he's a quality guy. He does
Hmm.
a really good job, and anybody sitting next to him couldn't help but get some good quality learning ability behind him, So uh, that's great,
Yep,
great to have a new guy. And that just means that things are moving along, right? I
yep.
mean, that's things are moving along.
I do have to shout out Andrew real quick, because he, outside of Utah, because we're on that level, but he was out of the only one to private message me about me announcing that my wife was pregnant. So
Oh, did he?
yeah, he
Okay.
did private message me on Instagram, so I do have to applaud him on that one, because I wasn't. And that's just the kind of guy Andrew is. So
Was he asking to take over the podcast with me and do
he could have been like, I'm gonna,
and then
maybe
just
he's just
had
got,
to weigh
he's
in?
the troll underneath the bridge, just waiting to take me under, and then just like,
Might
hey,
be.
I don't know what happened to Kyle, but I'm
Right.
here. No, no, no,
Exactly.
no, no, no.
That's what I was thinking was going to
I,
happen. So,
hey, I mean, if that's the case, I will gladly sell my free podcast for uh maybe $1,000. So
I'll sell my free podcast for uh thousand Monopoly dollars.
yeah, so yeah, more on that one, but yeah.
But
Uh,
anyways, all right. So good.
so
All right, next one.
So next one, okay. So we'll go with the player signing. So
Okay.
Nick Ultsch, we
Left-handed
signed.
outfielder,
Uh,
right?
huh?
Left-handed outfielder, right?
Yes, left-handed outfielder. He is 6'4", 200 pounds, 27 years of age. Was just in the Pioneer League. But he
Six
is from
foot 200
California. He
pounds.
played 4 years of college baseball at Puget Sound in Tacoma. He started his professional or independent experience in the Pacific Association with Napa Silverados. Then 2020 hit, probably no baseball because of COVID, but then played this. I love this one. He played in the United Shore League with the Unica Unicorns. So
Former
there's
unicorn. That's
that.
good.
Yep. And then he graduated into the Pioneer League, where he played only 21 games in 2022 with Billings, but then moved next year to Ogden, the Ogden Raptors, and played 89 games. And then in 2024, he played 83 games with Ogden, and then I believe was traded to the Boise Hawks, where he only played 7 games with them. So he was 3 years in the Pioneer League. He was a 2024 All-Star namee of he was on the 2024 All-Star team. He didn't play in an All-Star. I don't think Pioneer have an All-Star like game, so he was just named an All-Star. Didn't play in an All-Star game. But looking at his stats, he played 200 career stats in the Pioneer, or 200 career games in the Pioneer League. He had 777 at bats, 274 hits, 183 runs scored, 52 doubles, 12 triples, 19 home runs, 178 RBIs, 78 walks. He struck out 149 times, stole 9 bases, got caught 5 times. He had an average of 353, on base percentage of 421, slugging 524, and an OPS of 945. He Last year he was 23rd in runs scored He was 14th in hits, 13th in RBIs, and 18th in average.
Nice.
Um, so obviously, so what, and this is what Lamar had to say, and a little back, a little bit more on Nick also can play first base, and he was a two-way player in college. So he was a pitcher and played mostly first base. It wasn't really until he kind of, I think, fell into the independent ranks that's when he went into the outfield.
Oh, okay.
So you have someone that can play in the outfield and the versatility to play first base as well. So Lamar Rogers said, quote, Nick has produced back-to-back outstanding offensive seasons in the Pioneer League. He's shown an ability to get on base, hit runners in, hit for average, hit for power, hit gap to gap. He also said he'll also provide flexibility in his ability to play the outfield, first base if needed, unquote. So,
It would be nice to get a left-handed first baseman.
yes, I think this is what I see this is you told me, you texted me, you said we got it. You're the one that first alerted me to this because I swear when I look on American Association, see the transactions, and I don't see a dang thing at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I assume there's nothing there. And then you text me at 9:30 at night saying, "Oh, this looks like a good pickup." I'm like, all right, well, I guess gotta hurry up and tweet all this stuff out and look around and blah blah blah. And the thing about the Pioneer League is you have to take the offensive numbers, more or less the home run numbers, with a bit of a grain of salt. Um, Pioneer League, higher elevations, uh, pitching always kind of with the higher elevations aspect of it, the ball is going to go a lot further. You're going to get lot more power. But when I was looking at Nick's stats, you know, he's going to be that kind of player that's going to move the line. He is going to be what Gio Diaz was the first year that he was with the RailCats. He was someone that was going to get on base with average. He was going to hit gap to gap. He may have a little bit more offensive, more power than Gio will, and especially being a left-handed bat playing at Steelyard. So we saw what Gio in his second year was he was giving you more power, but that power, what would have been a single the year before was a line out to left field just because he was upping his power and just wasn't able to get it over the top of uh, the outfielders. Nick, he's not going to be your speedster. He's not going to go flying around the bases, but he's going to get gap to gap. And that is ideally what you need someone to do at the Steelyard. You're playing 50 games at the Steelyard. If you can get it into the gap, you're going to get doubles, you're going to get triples. Like that's just plain and simple what we're going to get out of this. He's been good in the defensive aspect of it, so I think he'll be a nice piece to put. And he has the experience. He has the top echelon name in the Pioneer League. That's just making the next step to American Association because he's probably being aged out at this point. So yeah, you're right. He may be batting a 253. You may see a 50 point drop, so he may be batting a 300, which is perfectly acceptable to me. I'll take a 300 hitter all day. Like that's just what you're gonna need,
Right.
and I think that's just something that we've lacked a little bit
Well,
in the consistency.
6'4", 200 pounds. I'm 6'4", 220, and I don't think Lamar has given me a call yet. I keep checking. So it still gives me hope that I could still play at some point in time of my life.
Well, it could be a possibility. I mean, realistically, here did you play any sports in college?
Um, I slept a lot in college.
Well, I'm just saying you still might have 4 years of eligibility.
I do. I still
So
have 4 years of eligibility. Yeah, don't know that. I mean, they might need me for. I
I,
don't know.
I just yeah, I don't really got much
I'm
of.
gonna say this. I did go to the VU basketball game actually when you were texting me yesterday. That's where I was,
Mhm.
and they brought out on the court their esports team,
Mm.
and I'll tell you what, they looked as athletic as me. So I could probably get into that, maybe.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I remember that was
Eligibility for that.
yeah, I wish we had an esports league when I was in high school because that's what I would have done. But nope, I had to actually join a sport and be physically active.
Yeah, running. I saw your message running. Come on now, man.
Well, yeah, I'm still doing that.
Ugh.
I'm just waiting for Tuesday when it's nice, gonna be crisp, like 4 degrees outside, and I'm off, and I'm like, I'm gonna go running.
Well, hey, that just puts Andrew one step closer to being in that seat when you freeze to death outside because you decided to run.
Maybe that's the goal.
Not a good goal to have. Have a baby here in 6 months.
Well, you know who is having a goal and is succeeding in that goal is going to be Grant Umberger,
Yeah.
who went. So it's classified as a pro day, but it's through Tread Athletics. And what I got out of it was he basically he was pitching, and I'm just going through some of his highlights. I mean, his first pitch that he threw, I think was let me see here, 92, 93. I think he hit 90, no, just up in the 90s, and it kind of slowly started going down. But he was hitting the strike zone. He's got some velocity, especially being 6'4" and 230 pounds. That lefty southpaw, woo, imagine that ball coming
Hold,
in. Like
hold
that's
on a
just
second. I am 6'4" and I am 220 and I am lefty. So Lamar, give me a call,
I.
buddy.
And he's 23, and this was, and I
Ugh,
know looking at
got me
his
there.
stats, when I was looking at his stats, I think he had an arm injury playing with Toledo, but he had really good stats. So it was just one of those like, it's kind of interesting that he didn't get picked up. Well, the White Sox picked him up. So he's on a contract. I'm not sure exactly what the contract entails. It probably to an affiliate ball somewhere. Um, so I put on my Instagram and all that. He did message me back and said thank you and blah blah blah. And I said I am a White Sox fan, so I'll keep up on your career a little bit anyway. So uh, I know me and you are in a discussion between how the contract necessarily works for the RailCats. I'm under the impression that the White Sox do not owe the RailCats anything because it was before the season, and I'm under the impression if the White Sox for whatever reason release him, he I don't know if it's obligated because they changed the rule on some of that stuff, but he would report back to the RailCats is what I understand is possibility. So, and I know you said that they should be paying him something because they do play players that they do pay players in the off season, but I
No,
no, I guess I might
no.
have
The
misread your
there is value in the contract. So I would make that assumption that because he was signed, that he is now considered, a rail cat, and that the White Sox would have to buy that contract. Um, so if if it's during the season, the way that it was before is if it was during the season, it was a rather large amount, $10,000, something like that. And if it was in the off season, it was half of that. And
okay.
so what you saw was a lot of teams that didn't want to spend the money, they would wait until right after the end of the season. And then this is when we had the 1+1 contracts, you had on
Yeah.
1 year and then you had the ability to hold
Yeah.
that contract for the next year. So they would shell out, let's say $5,000 in the off season to pick that contract
Hmm.
up. Um, well, they got rid of the 1-and-1. Now you can hold some players or what have you, or you have the first right to the players within the league. But if they go somewhere else, you don't. But this is a guy that was signed with a contract, so my I would think that the White Sox would have to give something for him.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't. I could
but
understand during the season because you were obviously paying for the player, and now the player's no longer on the team. Like that was
yeah,
just that's the kind of the idea behind the MLB partner league sort of deal. So like,
yeah,
I mean that might be a question that I may we have to unless someone knows the answer, may have to dig a little bit deeper. Maybe just send an email to Anthony and just ask him how.
yeah. My thinking is, hey, good job,
Yeah,
congratulations, hope the best for you. And it's I look at like Brian Torres. He
Hmm.
got an invite, and Gavin Collins got an
Yep.
invite to the Cardinals spring training. So that stuff's awesome. The fact that we got to see those players play and play out of their minds, and then they get that opportunity uh, uh, to take that step up is phenomenal. So
No, I
uh,
I honestly, and like I understand this isn't going to affect the Railcat season necessarily, but it just shows put this into perspective a little bit. Last year Dana Alvaro gets picked up by the Mexican League. I'm pretty sure Nate Alexander, Josh Smith, Ty, I think they're all playing in the Mexican League right now. I think they're all in some sort of league. A next step up. So like obviously I think Lamar is on the right path. And this just shows another one of those he saw it before it happened and he was just, maybe a little bit too ahead of the curve to a certain extent and the guy got picked up because not a bad thing. I think he saw the potential.
yep.
And coming off an arm injury, whatever the case may be, and him working and going to all this stuff just shows that I think Lamar is starting to figure it out a little bit.
Well,
And it could be a possibility that, and Nick Ultsch is another one of those kind of key contributes to a guy that's been producing in the Pioneer League. We've already had success with one one batter in Gio Diaz. We have had a handful of success in the with pitchers, so I don't think um I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there just at the time uh, the amount of allotted time for Lamar really hasn't been there quite yet, just because of the prior failures of a Greg Taggart in the missing the playoff window and stuff like that. And now you're seeing what Greg has been able to do in Tri-City. So it's one of those like I understand the irritation between the fan base. But I just think this year, I mean, this year's make it or break it, to be honest. I think it's just one of those years. But
I'll tell you what, I will give 2, 3 terrible seasons to have a dynasty.
Well, yeah, I mean, granted, I think it's really hard to have a dynasty in independent baseball in
Oh,
general,
but hey,
but
let's make it happen.
yes, you can make it happen. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, the early years of the mid 2000s era of the Railcats and the early 2010 era was you could almost classify as a dynasty because they were making the playoffs, they were making the championship. That was the golden era of independent baseball for the Railcats, and it lasted a good 5, 10 years. So it's possible. I mean, but I just think that people are wanting that back. Like they got a taste of it
Oh,
so early on that they
yeah.
want it back.
Hey, everybody wants to win.
Well,
Nobody
yeah,
out there saying, "Hey, I want to lose." It's not like it's not like NHL where you try to tank so that you can get that first draft pick. We get nothing for losing, So, uh, I, hey, these guys are going to go out there and give it its all. Lamar's doing his best. Let's be excited and see what happens. My
yeah.
my thinking is this: we've got uh, hopes of some solid players, and I don't get too attached because the season hasn't started yet. We haven't got a final roster, but just knowing that we've got we're putting some roots down. So hey, let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're gonna start getting more signings coming here. I mean, it's gonna start speeding up. It's gonna have to, um, just because they're gonna need to fill it, and we've gained one, lost one, so we're just still back. I think at like 5 or 6 players, so it's not a whole lot, but it's gonna start speeding up. And I wonder if they're just kind of if Lamar's just kind of waiting to see, um, what is still left after all these pro days, invitations to spring training. So I have a feeling he may wait a little bit longer on some of these players.
Well, hey, Kane County waits till the very last minute and they won the championship.
Yeah.
So
So I mean, it's a good strategy to go with, on that front of it. So
I'll tell you what, why don't we change it up and have a dizzy bat race
we do
every game,
every game.
right?
We
I
do.
mean, this we've got to change it up.
Now this could also be that we may or may not go to almost every game, and there's not a lot of people that go to almost every game, so that's new to them.
Yeah.
But
But okay. Hey, new to them, right? But if they've gone to any games in their life, they've seen these. So it's not really new to them.
no,
I want to have original stuff. Chicago has the two guys out there in the blow up balls. Let's put Rusty out there with Rascal banging it out. Everybody has the hat with the ball on the screen. Our screen doesn't really work very well, so I don't know how that
no,
works.
I personally think that if they were to upgrade that and they were able to do more on the screen itself, because I mean, realistically, if you go to major league organizations, that's where most of their
Right. That's their
entertainment comes
entertainment.
from.
Yeah.
So having a, you know how they had the bullpen with the bros
Right.
podcasting, that kind of stuff. Like that stuff would be interesting. That way you get more personality onto the
Yeah.
players themselves. So like you know the player a little bit more than, oh, that's his name, that's his number, and there's his batting average and how many home runs he has.
Yeah.
Like I think that would
So
be
we should really step up the entertainment value when it comes to that stuff. And I think that that's a new screen would do that. I look at what Chicago Dogs do. Look at what Lake Country does. Um, I mean, you could definitely get through 3 innings worth of stuff just having stuff on the board. You know,
and I
Chicago
know
Chicago has
I
guessed the year. They throw 3 things out there that happened in a year. You have to guess the year. If that person that's picked it, the fan picks what year it is, they win $50 in cat coins, whatever they have in Chicago. Stuff like that. That's cool stuff.
something different than the past 3 years, doing something a little bit different this year would show me that they're trying to adjust to something new.
Yeah.
That I think that's the biggest thing. Is outside of like some promotions that are different. Like in 2023, the biggest promotion difference was Greg Taggart's retirement jersey
Yeah.
and the t-shirt giveaway. And that was the first 2 games of the year.
Yeah.
So outside of that, there's nothing that I would really like to see them maybe kind of go all out for a Tommy Williams. Like if they just went, if it was a Tommy Williams day or whatever the case, like I mean, but that was the thing was they unveiled Tommy Williams, the booth being Tommy Williams, but it wasn't a big spectacle. It was just like, oh, they did that. That's nice.
Right.
Like there was nothing to show.
Yeah.
I just feel like going a little bit
It would have been cool to have some video of him up there. It
a
would have been cool
tribute.
to have, yeah, a nice tribute or something like that. And
Well,
and that's why I
e-
said if we had a Tommy Williams bobblehead, that would have been pretty sweet, you know?
but I mean, even I mean, I know you have the Jackson Five talking about or their song about Gary and all that every time you come into the ballpark, but like you have recording of Tommy Williams.
Right.
Play people play do something to incorporate a little bit of history back into the steel yard because we are to that point where there's going to be people that go, man, it's a little bit of nostalgia there, and I'm going back for that reason. Like I can hear him say that again, or I can, you're bringing a kid, you may have been a young adult, and now you're bringing your kids to the steel yard, and they missed out on Tommy Williams. I missed out on Tommy Williams saying all that stuff. So like that would be oh, that's what he sounded like, or that's how it used to be. Like that kind of stuff. I think we're missing.
Yeah. No, I stuff like that would be pretty awesome. Um, I feel like maybe uh that aspect of our team sometimes is a last thought
Hmm.
or is something that is just kind of thrown together. Like there's a lot of things that we're like perfect at. Like
Yeah.
that feels phenomenal,
Yes.
perfect, right? Um, and I'm gonna say not perfect. 99%, we still get that grass on that line. Mentioned that before, needs to be fixed. Noah. But near perfect. Okay. And if something were to happen to that field, they would not question, hey, we need to get somebody in here to take care of this,
Mhm.
or we need to spend the money to take care of this. But I feel like they kind of, when it comes to the promotions, it's like an afterthought a little bit. Like, oh, we need to come up with something. It's next week. Oh, let's give away uh, beach towels. Okay. Let's give away Harry Potter scarves. You know, just stuff like that where it's like, oh, okay. All right.
I I think maybe like I would I you can I guess for me, if you were to take like a handful of those promotions away and funneled it into less promotion giveaways to have bigger promotions like a bobblehead night or something, a replica of something, or something along the lines of that. Like if you're just gonna give me a handful of giveaways, but they're big giveaways to bring the people in, but you're
Yeah.
doing more specialty nights,
Right.
I would be okay with that. Like
Like we when we face Kleber,
yes.
right? When Cleburne's in town, Cleburne from Texas, they typically, Cowboys, right? Why don't we have Native American night? And we could have headdresses that we hand out, and that way we can show that we don't support the Cowboys and we're more of the Native American side of things.
But but okay, but even so even we no. This leads into something. This leads into a little bit of like a college um feel to it, or a high school feel to it to a certain extent. So you got the Railcats and the Railroaders. So why not make it the Battle of the Railroads, right? Or the railways. So you have I don't know, an I-beam or a miniature railroad track, like traveling trophy kind of deal. Like
Right.
whoever wins the inner series,
When these other teams hit home runs, they have their own little gimmick. Why don't we have a gimmick?
because we don't have lights that flash.
Oh, even when like they have their WWE championship
Yeah,
belt that they run around with, they've got their cloak that
I
they put over you, their king hat that they put on you, stuff like that. When we hit a home
I
run, we should have a gimmick. You
I'm
know,
I'm not big into gimmicks. I'm sorry, I'm not big into gimmicks. Those
oh, come on.
that
No, we hit a home
what
run.
so
Listen,
here
you put on a rusty hat, or you put on an actual, how they have the fur coats, right? Well, instead we have a cat coat that is made of real cat skin that we put on, something like that. I mean, hey, brought to you by PETA. Uh, there's a lot of different things that we could do, you know?
I'm just I it, it's the same thing with football. It's the same thing with you hit a home run. Good. I'm glad you hit it. You can celebrate it, but you're taking a team sport and individualizing it. And I get it. At baseball, realistically, if you think about it, it's a team game, but it's really individualized. Like but I just feel like you take away from the team atmosphere a little bit, and I feel like that's something that they've instilled in their Lamar at least has instilled in their clubhouses. It's a team and it's not a bunch of individuals.
Yeah.
And if you want to be an individual, you can get out.
Okay. So how about this? How about this? How about when you hit a home run, everybody puts on their cat coats
There you
to celebrate.
go.
I don't know where we would find enough cat skin, cat fur to put on though. My daughter's house has a lot of cat fur, so
I
maybe
got
something like
I got
that.
three.
Huh?
I got three.
3 cats? There
Yeah.
you go.
My
So
wife might kill me, but
between your daughters and or my daughter and your house, you could at least own one fur ball worth of a cat coat. You know, just I mean, come on. I'm just saying, think outside the box. I'm giving a lot of absolutely idiotic responses here, but getting serious here for a second, which I don't like to do. We do need to come up with some better promotions. We need to really, I would think that they would put a lot more time into that. Um, and make it to where, yeah, people like us that show up to a lot of games, sorry, people like me that show up to a lot of games, you're taking a lot of games off this year. Uh, People like me that show up, yeah, I want to be entertained, a lot of the time with the stuff that's going on the field outside of the baseball.
no, I get it, and I don't want, I guess I don't want people to think that we're dogging the front office for not coming out with these crazy and to be honest, there's been a lot of turnover in that
Oh, not
department.
dogging anybody, just saying this is room for improvement.
No, and I agree. I don't know, you know, I think there was a bit of complacency a little bit, and then you had turnover, and that came up just before the season started, so you really didn't have anything to play with last year. And this year it seems like they're opening their horizons a little bit to especially social media, uh, coming up with just weird things. They had and I guess I'm a little salty about it. I didn't get a reward for this one, but they posted on Facebook, and I think they did it on Twitter and Instagram. They did guess the Railcat player,
Right.
and well, they what team they started with and all the progression and so forth. And I was the first and only person to comment on Facebook. It was Carlos Sanabria, and it was within like 5 minutes. And I was on a date with my wife and I still did this. So that's called dedication, and I think I deserve at
Well,
least a high five.
if you were on a date with your wife, that's called stupidity that you were playing around on the internet on your phone when you were with your wife. So we don't reward stupidity on this podcast. Um,
Wait. This is the whole podcast. What do you mean?
the whole podcast is about stupidity, and we do not reward it, which is why we don't have any money. Um,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited. This season coming up. Um, Bummed out. I have heard back from some people that they were hoping to come back this year, and they haven't gotten any call from Lamar yet. So they're kind of bummed out about that. Uh, I'm. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, we still got plenty of time to speculate and
Yeah,
until
I,
we
I just
don't.
I'm excited. I've said it before. I'm a Lamar guy, so I think that he's got a plan. And even when I've said, "Hey, come on, Lamar, really? This is the move that you made," and hey, trust me, this is better for the team that we do this. Okay,
He is definitely a coach's a player coach sort of deal. Like he he's in it for his guys. Like he wants to believe in his guys and he will give them the rope to do that. And does that sometimes hinder the ability to put wins in the column? Yes. But this is also a league about second chances. So we also got to look at the bigger picture of things. Yes, you're right. This season probably wasn't the best season, but there are guys that proved their worth in the season they had that are bettering themselves in their baseball career, that had an opportunity that might have gotten shut down from affiliate ball to play in the Mexican League to prove their worth even more and hopefully get their contract signed by another affiliate team. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I think we saw that more this year than we did in years past.
Yeah.
And granted, a lot of the times is players have to move on with their lives. And sometimes that's just the reality of it, and you don't get to see some of those players back. So, eh, but I mean, like I said, that's the number one thing about, you know, on top of this podcast talking about Gary was trying to highlight players so that they could move on
Right.
to a better spot.
Yep. And I look at it like this. You got to look at the long game, right?
Hmm.
Lamar comes in, has a little bit of independent league experience, but comes in, has to make the contacts, has his affiliate contacts that he's kind of, ran through the ringer and pulled as much as he could have. Has some other contacts that he's made. Starts having players, that want to come play for Gary, whereas that wasn't a thing
Hmm.
before. So he starts to get that. Um, you're always going to start off being a player manager
Hmm.
because you need to start getting the players talking about and wanting to play for you. You don't start kind of tweaking things, start to make team decisions of, the hard decisions that we need to move away from this player or whatever. You don't start doing that stuff right away. That's something that after you start building up a rapport and building up a name that you start to, okay, now I need to be a little bit harder, a little bit less of a player coach and that kind of thing. Um, and hey, I saw it at the end of last year. I mean, got rid of some players that I really liked, and Jackson Valera. Talked to that guy every
Hmm.
game. Hey, how's it going? Anytime there was a kid that needed a ball, and I was like, hey, Jackson, ball, threw it over to me so I could give it to the kid. Just stuff like that. It was, you know, I mean, hey, that guy was great. I loved having him on the team. And all of a sudden he's gone.
Hmm.
Like, okay, best one of the best hitters on the team. Gone, But hey, Lamar had a reason for it.
Yeah.
So I just I don't want to look like a fool at the end of the season where it's like, okay, this isn't working. Because I'll tell you what, doesn't work this season. I will be one of the first ones in line to say, hey, I think we need to make a change because this isn't the kind of baseball that we need to have.
Especially now with you have six teams in each division and four of them make the playoffs. We're not asking to win the championship. Like I'm not. I don't think any of the RailCats fans right now are asking that question. They just want to get back into the playoffs.
Here's the thing. Remember when uh the All-Star game started to mean something, right?
Hmm.
They put a stipulation on the All-Star game in MLB to where it wasn't just guys going out there hitting home runs and goofing around and what have you, right? It was like, hey, the winner of this gets to have home field advantage for the World Series, right? So it kind of had a meaning. Whether you like it or you don't, whatever, it is what it is. Um, if you go back the past 3 years,
Hmm.
the division for playoffs and not making playoffs has been a game or 2 games or 3 games.
Hmm.
So these games at the beginning of the season, they matter.
Yeah.
Stop treating them like they don't matter. It's not the first team that figures things out and makes their mistakes and gets it out of the way that all of a sudden makes it happen and they make the playoffs. No, it's no, we play every game to win.
Hmm.
Don't don't have a game where you say to yourself, you know what, we're just going to have a pitching battery. Everybody gets to pitch 2 innings. Don't do that. That game matters.
Yeah. It does
Don't do
it,
that.
it
You
does.
know,
It really does open it up to that it's weird to say that because you would think with that the extended playoffs, the earlier games wouldn't be your necessarily the games that you'd be concerned about because you could probably maybe figure it out by the halfway point because when there was only two teams making it from each division, those early games really did matter because you could fall super far behind. But
right,
then when you sit there and you look through the entire season and you go, if they would have just won these three games and in the middle of May,
right,
they could have been in the playoffs. So like it 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 may seem uh, it may seem backwards a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because you two teams and I like it. It keeps parity in the league and it keeps it kind of close because yes, I understand that the Railcats were dead last, basically last 2 years, 3 years realistically in this playoff system, but they still came down to a week left, 2 weeks left in the season. This year was a little bit different, but you were still fighting for positions even towards almost up to the end versus what it would have been years past. It would have been the All-Star break, and it was like, all right, pack it in, boys, we're done.
oh, I'm just saying between fourth and fifth place is like a game.
Oh yeah, no, and I
Right?
agree.
And so you you shouldn't go into the beginning of the season saying, all right, we're going to try to figure out where these guys need to be, blah, blah, blah. No, you play to win.
Yeah,
You don't need to use your practice time to try to figure out where guys are going to be or what have you. No, we're playing to win. Don't sit there and okay, we're going to bring this pitcher in because I want him to pitch an inning, and then this guy, we're going to bring him in to pitch an inning. No, you get a guy out there that's hot, you pitch him a few innings.
yeah.
Let him pitch. Don't play this. Well, everybody needs to have a. This isn't Boys and Girls Club. Everybody needs to have a shot. Play to win. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing that irritates me more than anything is that you've got these giveaway games that you have where it's like, well, we're just going to start one of our relievers for 2 innings and then this guy for two. No,
I agree. I found it very, especially the doubleheader games where there was a break after,
yeah,
because essentially that, for example, if you were to use an Andres Diaz and then the next person that was pitching was a Ty Tiedemann and it was a doubleheader, there's no reason to start a Yon Valdez in the second game.
right.
Even though he had some kind of starting experience, but I'm just saying there's no reason to give up the ability to try to win, especially even if you lose the first doubleheader game.
Right.
There's no reason you should be throwing a bullpen day. Like that's
Oh,
not.
and okay. Now look at this. We could go out there, and this is something else that I noticed last year that kind of irritated me. We could go out there and put up 10 runs in a game,
Mhm.
right? 10 runs, smoke the other team. The next day we're facing the same team. We have a whole different lineup.
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
I
No, play to win. You knew this one last time. Guess what? Keep running it till the wheels start to come off. Then you make a change. But no, we were making changes every single game. You had to go out there and be like, oh, who's playing in the outfield today? Oh, who's playing third base today? Oh, who's batting? What's the batting order going to look like today? No, you had something that was winning. Stick with it.
I agree, and I think a little bit that has to do with I really think Lamar likes to play the numbers game. And I think that falls into, okay, said pitcher does this, said hitter does this. How does this person match up with that person? You see it all the time when it comes to the bullpen. I mean, how many times have we had a reliever go out there and just been lights out, and then he may have just walked one guy, or the next guy's up a lefty, and you're gonna throw a righty out there, like, or another lefty. Like, he just plays those kinds of numbers all the time, and I don't. It's one of those, like, I get you're trying to play chess, but realistically you're just playing checkers at that point because
Right.
it's not helping the
Right.
situation.
Well, I would say like this. If you're uh playing, you know, professional MLB level, right? Where you've got a Greg Maddux and he's going to be off maybe 1 out of 20 starts,
Hmm.
right? Or you've got a reliever that's going to be off 1 out of 20 relief appearances, okay? Then that's fine. Then if you want to go through 5 relief pitchers in a game, then go ahead. But guess what? We don't have that.
No.
So when you get a pitcher that comes in and he's lights out as a reliever, stick with him. Let him pitch a couple innings and then bring in the next guy. Because when you bring in 5 guys, guess what? One of those guys isn't going to be on his game. And
Yeah.
one of those guys is going to give up a boatload of runs. And then you've just lost a game. Play every single game to win. And I don't feel like we do that.
It's not that I don't feel that we don't do that. I think the overcomplicating it.
Yes. Maybe they're not being as uh, complicated as I think they are. Maybe it's just awful decisions, or maybe it's just bad luck. But
Bad luck, or just players just not producing at the level they should be. But
it could be.
how many times have we gone, this guy, he's pretty consistent. He should be fine. And then goes in and just blows up.
Right,
And
right,
it goes into your metaphor with the guy that can pitch 7 innings lights out, and then you bring in the reliever who gets through the 8th inning, keep him in the ninth, put him in for the ninth or whatever the case may be, but then you bring someone else completely in that isn't as successful, and it just kind of all unravels itself. Or you
right,
have a point to where you're utilizing your bullpen so much, of your 3 best pieces in your bullpen, so much that in later times in the year when you actually need them, they're not producing at the level that they should be because you've overused them.
right, right. That's where you've really got to do what the other teams do when they're always making adjustments to bring in the best. They're always looking at where's the weak links and bring in the
Mhm.
better pitchers, you know, uh, and see what these guys get. Don't don't bring a guy in to try him out in a game. Try him out in some hot batting practice or something. See what he's got. Don't sit there and try it. Well, we brought in this guy. I don't know if he's any good, but we're gonna let him pitch. Come on. Every game should matter. We should be busting our rear ends every game to make sure that we win.
I
Enough
agree.
about that. Enough about that. We've gone long enough. This is a very long. You're going to
Yeah,
cut all this out, right?
sure. I don't know. So, Chuck, you got any final thoughts for this week?
Oh man, final thoughts for this week. Uh, Stay warm. 2 degrees out right now is what my computer tells me.
4 degrees, as my Apple Watch tells me. So,
Oh, stay warm.
well, I guess I'll go outside with the thermostat and see how cold it is outside. Um, but nope, I think that'll wrap it up for this week. I know I got a couple things in mind of potentially some guests to bring on, which I think will be an interesting baseball talk. But once I get that set in stone, we'll talk more about that. But yeah, that should do it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, drink some hot cocoa, and enjoy the rest of your night. And go Cats.
Okay, it's
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.